See, I've been waiting. Waiting on that time. Feel me if you've been waiting on yours. That moment, it's close. It's close.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the #1 MMA and boxing podcast on the planet, on the universe, in the galaxy. It is I, the king of Salvadorian strong style, Jesse Rivas, joined always by my co-host, Joe Gilpin.
Hello.
And always joined, as always, by DJ Marcus. Say hello to the people, DJ Marcus.
Hey, people. Hey, people.
How's everybody doing? How you doing this week, Jesse?
Doing great. I'm excited.
We're thick with fights this week. We are thick with fights. Some weeks I remember in the middle of last week we had like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. We were just like, sure wish fight stuff like would happen, could happen, anything can. But this week we had a ton of great fights going down, and we have a lot to look forward to. Exciting times.
Yes.
Most important thing of the week, obviously. Did you see the Blac Chyna sex tape?
I did not.
You did not? You did not see this? Marcus, you saw this, right?
I saw it.
Yeah, right? It's not a good sex tape.
Probably the laziest sex tape
It's
I've ever
fucking,
seen.
it's really bad. It's like, really bad.
It's like the worst.
I will say this. When sex tapes first became a big thing was like the whole Pamela Anderson thing. And she was a beast because she could deep throat Tommy Lee, and it was a pretty big deal. But now, like, the advancement...
Is that why it was a big deal? Because she could take a big cock? I thought it was just a big deal because it was, like, one of the most renowned hot women on the planet.
Yeah, too.
That too. But if you look at the stuff that happens in porn now, it's advanced so much that sex tapes are just like, eh.
I can see women way hotter doing anything I want them to do. You know what I mean?
And high definition.
Yeah,
with great directing.
In 1280p.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like storylines and real stakes, and it's over a custody battle or something. I don't know. But let's stop talking about porn for at least just a moment. Jesse, let's move across the pond and talk about what I thought was the real main event from this weekend, and that was World Boxing Super Series.
I was really shocked. First of all, let's talk about the presentation. Has any place been able to present fights in a more grander stage than the UK?
It is really like becoming this almost like Coliseum effect when people go over there. You know what I mean? It does feel epic. It feels important every time they put on a big main event fight. I think that's really coming across.
Marcus, did you get to see the entrances for this fight?
I did not have a chance to.
It literally gave you the same type of goosebumps of watching the movie Creed when he comes in and he's going to fight against Tony Bellew in the finals.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's spitting out fire, and people are going crunk and, chopping people's heads off on the way to the ring.
Okay.
Same exact thing.
They
People
did
died. It
People
was
died?
fucked up. People died.
It was kind of like, do you remember WrestleMania 3 when Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, they were standing in those mini rings right by the actual ring before the entrances?
Yeah, they like scootered up.
Yeah.
Their little mobility scooters to get their fat asses over to the ring. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so it was a phenomenal entrance. And the lights, the everything, the pyro, everything was fantastic. And then we actually had the fight. It was great in every way possible. And then the actual fight happened, and it was a little bit one-sided.
It was a little bit one-sided. It's not going to go into anybody's fight of the year consideration, but it was still a very exciting fight. Eubank made him work for it, but George Groves was just a half step better.
I think
the whole
he
night.
nullified his offense, and there was no plan B or C for Eubank.
To me, what it looked like was all night one guy had way faster decision-making.
Yes.
And that just paid dividends all night. And when you can't make decisions fast, it doesn't really matter what your game plan is. You can't implement it because you can't change and adjust and do different things. It was, looking at that fight, it feels very clear to me, George Groves spent a training camp full of sparring, and Eubank spent a training camp full of bag work and mitt work. And there's just a difference.
I could see that.
You know what I mean? It was just a little timing difference that George Groves was able to take advantage of.
It's funny because, before the fight, there's gym culture, bro code. You can't say what happened in sparring.
Leading up, at least.
Yeah, for leading up. So no one really said anything, but after the fight, everyone came out the woodworks and said that's amazing because when they actually did spar together, Eubanks had him all day. He was schooling him, and so it shows improvement, and it shows the fact that, it's maybe might have been a little bit of overconfidence by Eubanks.
Yeah, maybe, and just he thought he could just come in and be flashy and be a little bit more athletic and, be Carl Weathers and jump around. But, Rocky won, baby, every time. Every single time Rocky wins. That's what we have learned through history, is that the favorite to the fight never actually wins the fight.
So now now George Groves moves on to the finals, but it's going to be interesting because his shoulder
completely popped out of
Yes.
socket. Can we talk about that for a second? Yeah, he goes to throw that punch. His shoulder pops out. Obviously, you can see the bone out of socket. It's super gross. And from what I understand, there's no chance really they're going to postpone the final.
Yes.
And they might just plug somebody else, like Chris Eubank might still get a shot in the final and might end up winning all this. How fucked up is that?
That's crazy.
We're in the final. Just wait three or 4 months. He'll be in.
But they got the TV dates booked. They have everything booked. And that's actually happening this weekend. We have, on the other side of the bracket, we have Callum Smith versus Jorgen Bramer. But Bramer just pulled out.
Yep.
So there is no delay. There's nothing else. The dates are set. So
But that's a semifinal. That's a little different. You only have one fight left in the final. Can we not give this guy the rest that he has earned? You know what I mean? That's why these tournaments can get such a bad name, is because of the weird flexibility they have to take on. And they're trying to be rigid about it, but that's when you end up having guys who lost before come back and win the whole thing. And now the tournament looks like a weird joke.
Can we talk about Jorgen Bramer for a bit?
I'd love to.
Okay, so he's on the other side of the tournament. He just pulled out this week. This is the week of the fight. He pulls out of the fight. Do you feel like he's just over it in his career? He's 40 years old. He's a 2-time lightweight champion. He's moved down a division. He lost his belt in a fight that he was winning, and he was a heavy favorite on HBO because he got hurt, and he was like, I don't feel like fighting anymore. His corner was like, just tough it out. You're winning the fight. And he's like,
I think that's a big part of it. I also suspect, based off of some social media stalking, that his weight is a little higher than he might like right now.
Ooh.
And then that played a role in getting him out of the fight, because I don't think it was something he was necessarily excited for, and it was a harder road than it had to be anyway. And I think all that just led to him saying, this is not right. I'm stepping back from this opportunity.
And what a crazy – his replacement is the craziest replacement of all time. In 2015, this guy was the best pound-for-pound kickboxer on the planet. He's a 7-time world champion, the glory champion, Nieky Holzken.
Super excited. Is he going to be able to make the transition, Mr. Jester Rivas, from kickboxing to Western boxing?
It's a weird transition because he's 13-0. He was going to have a step-up fight recently against a very tough guy, and Chudanov, and he got plugged into this position. But we've seen kickboxers make the transition successfully. I mean, most famously, Vitaly Klitschko.
There you go. That's a name for you.
Yeah.
Holzken, I think that he won't have too big of an issue jumping up a level, but I think Callum Smith is still a level above that. He's going to have to make a big jump in his boxing career to be able to take on a guy like Callum Smith. Do you want to just break down that fight right now?
Yeah, let's break it down.
As well. Callum Smith, probably the most talented of all the Smith brothers. That does include the most lucky man in the world, Liam Smith, who I believe won 8 lottery tickets this weekend. He's checking off all the boxes. He is fighting Nieky Holzken. How do you see this fight going down for Callum Smith and Nieky?
This is an enigma for me. I have no idea where this is going to go.
Really? You don't feel like this is like...
Maybe it's because I'm a huge Nieky Holzken fan from his glory days, his fight with Joseph Valtellini.
You don't mean like his days back in his prime. You mean when he fought for the division glory, the company glory.
Yes, for kickboxing.
Yes.
Anyone who's out there, if you want to know what he's all about, look at the fight with Joseph Valtellini from 2015, Fight of the Year. Made him Fighter of the Year and the best pound-for-pound kickboxer in the world. He did lose the title in 2016 and became a boxer, but that's neither here nor there.
Still a beast.
Also, look at his fight with Raymond Daniels, who still is one of the best kickboxers on the planet. The guy's phenomenal. He's amazing. But Callum Smith is a boxer. This is what he does, and he is the most talented of the talent-rich Smith brothers. They're all B fighters, but I've always said he's a legitimate A fighter. And, I mean, it sucks that he won't get the big name of Jorgen Bramer, and I don't think he'll get the credit he deserves in his fight with Nieky Holzken, but I think...
That is a big problem, right? He's not going to get credit for beating this amazing striker. He's going to get credit for beating a 13-0 boxer.
Yes.
Who hasn't really fought anybody on this level yet.
And what gets me is I've seen some of the breakdowns on YouTube, and people are acting like kickboxing is not like...
Yeah, like he's going to walk in with the same stance, motion, and tactics. No, it's different. It's completely different.
Yeah.
Stop being silly.
And people are forgetting what high level Nieky Holzken is as a kickboxer. He's not just like, oh, he did kickboxing for like, New Jersey and some of like those little leagues. No, he was at the highest level
Number
possible.
1.
Yes.
He was the kickboxer for a second. If an alien race landed and we had to put forward one kickboxer in that moment, it would have been Nieky Holzken.
Yes.
He was that good. So this is a very exciting fight. I see Callum Smith winning. I'll be just very surprised if he can stop him. I think it's going to be a decision win, but I see Callum Smith picking up the rounds.
Yeah. But how crazy would it be if Nieky Holzken wins this tournament?
That would be nuts, but that would be exactly what a guy like this needs. That's, the World Boxing Super Series is supposed to be about opportunity, and I think that's what we are seeing with this. So that's a great thing. That's a great thing.
That's fantastic. And we also had another fight this weekend. Friday, last week, we had
Oh, you
Beltran
mean that
versus
movie?
Moses. Yes.
You mean the cinematic quality masterpiece that was this fight?
Yes.
Not even the fight. The fight was fine, right? It was a good
I
fight.
thought the fight was very good.
Yeah, it was a good fight. No problem with the fight.
I
but
personally
the
had it
actor.
closer than the judges had it.
Yeah, but the right guy won.
The right
at the
guy
end of
did
the
win.
day.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Beltran wins his world championship finally. We talked about him a little bit last week, and Ray Beltran gives the best post-fight post-fight interview of maybe all time. He is standing there with his two kids right next to him, and they ask him, "Hey, man, what does this win mean to you?" And he says, "My citizenship." Dope.
Just a
For
reminder.
him to win this fight means he gets to stay in the country because he qualifies for a longer visa. And
Okay.
His visa was about to expire. So he's allowed to stay now, which is super intense.
Okay.
So he was fighting with an amount of pressure on him.
Just a little bit.
Hey, man, if you don't win this fight, your whole family gets shipped back. Best of luck, sir.
I'm beating everybody
Yeah.
else.
And Moses didn't make it easy for him. Moses is a phenomenal fighter. It's just a shame that he reached his level at the age of 40. He's one of the top fighters and an inspiration to all the kids in Namibia. Which is
all
not
8
a
of them.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is not a place in the movie Black Panther. It's a legitimate place right near South Africa.
Namibia forever. I stand by it. Come on.
We also
Visual
had
jokes.
we also had
Was that top 5 post-fight interview of all time? I think yes.
I think yes.
It's up there. It's up there. It's definitely top 10.
We had Danny Swift Garcia versus Brandon Rios. What did you think of this fight?
I thought Danny Swift Garcia was definitely way better than him, but he was also sleepy, right? He was like not putting anything together. He looked really lethargic all night, I thought. And maybe that's because of some ring rust. Just he was, off for a long time. But Brandon Rios also quite washed, sir.
He's not just
time to
quite
step
washed,
away.
but he was never a welterweight.
Yeah, also very true.
Yeah.
But he needs to step away. I'm tired of seeing Brandon Rios in there. He's going to take 1 or 2 more, but he needs to, knock it off.
There was a YouTube
And then
interview.
Danny Garcia lands his finishing blow, his signature.
Yeah.
Come on, what are we doing?
Brandon Rios, before the Pacquiao fight, did an interview where he didn't sound like himself anymore. He was slurring his words and he sounded drunk. And I thought then that he should retire. I didn't feel comfortable watching a guy who seemed like he had received damage from those wars with Mike Alvarado, which were fight of the year candidates, but he didn't sound the same anymore.
No, and it's getting worse. He sounds like a Popeye character.
Yeah, and the fact that you guys still interview him and then put him in there, like I mean, have you not heard of CTE? Like,
Yeah, well, at least, don't highlight it. I mean, maybe it exists, but don't put it in front of a camera. Do something else.
because when he was at lightweight and he was this phenomenal fighter, he was on the pound for pound list. He didn't sound like that.
No, he was not slurring his words. He wasn't going, he didn't sound like a parent from Charlie Brown. You know what I mean?
And it did break my heart to see the knockout, which I knew was inevitable by the way he was fighting and it was being
Absolutely,
contested. That he was gonna get knocked out, and it broke my heart.
But did Garcia look good ultimately? I say no.
No,
I say he looked bad, and I say he still looked like this guy who, might have dropped that decision to Ashley Theophane or, had problems with, what's his name? Herrera, I think.
yeah, with the Herrera loss, oh my god, that should have been a loss.
He
If it
won
wasn't in Puerto
against
Rico,
Herrera. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, yeah.
If it wasn't in Puerto Rico, but man, I think he should fight Sean Porter next. I think that's the
I'm
fight.
super down for Sean Porter.
Yeah.
I think that's a great fight.
And Sean Porter called him out.
I say go for it.
Yeah.
But this is Danny's night.
Yeah. We also had on the undercard.
Actually, can we stop right there? I need to run to the bathroom.
Okay.
He's never used the bathroom in front of me.
Listen.
We also had David Benavidez versus Capital, the rematch of one of the best fights of last year. But the rematch, Benavidez got better.
The rematch played to history. And history will tell us that when two fighters fight, if the younger fighter wins and then they rematch, then the younger fighter is going to win by more. And I think that pretty much held serve here. And David Benavidez thought he put together what I thought was the best performance of all time.
Yes.
I've never been more impressed with David Benavidez, who I've still been a little hot and cold on. I'm a lot hotter on him right now. I'm so hot for David Benavidez.
You know what's crazy? I didn't know he didn't have an amateur career.
Yeah, he used to be a fat boy, apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. Yeah, I'm starting to get more and more of his backstory. He was like a 280-pound kid in high school, and now he's the youngest world champion in boxing.
And here's the crazy thing. He was over 200 pounds in high school, which means it must have been freshman year because he turned pro by junior year.
Yeah, so he was working. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a fat 13-year-old, 13, 14 years old. He was a portly boy, plenty of tacos.
Yeah, it's like, well, his brother was a big prospect.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he did a little bit of sparring in the gym with his brother, but, I mean, to have an amateur career and be the youngest champion in boxing right now is insane.
He just knows how to fight, man.
Yeah.
Some guys they really have that just natural feel. He's like Kelvin Gastelum. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's a little bit like that. Also Team Soft Body.
Yes.
First captain of Team Soft Bodies. They're going to one day meet in some hybrid boxing MMA thing, and the goal is going to be to miss weight by the most. David Benavidez is going to go up in weight eventually, by the way.
Yes.
There's no way he stays to this weight class. He's like 21 years old.
And he's huge.
He's enormous for this weight.
Yeah. Another guy who's huge for the weight, we actually had some boxing, and we actually some MMA. James Vick, how huge is he at 155?
6'3", 155, I think, and a fit 6'3". It's not like, Nate Diaz is like a 6'2", 6'3", 155, but he's a little ganglier. James Vick has some muscle on him.
And he's 30.
I know, it's ridiculous.
He's not even like 21, and you're like, oh, he's eventually going to move up
get
in
into
weight.
it. No, that's who he is, and that's where, this is the weight he'll probably retire at.
What did you think of his performance against Francisco Trinaldo?
I was super impressed by it. James Vick he's becoming undeniable. Full disclosure before we get into anything else. I do not like James Vick's camp. I'm going to do my best to be objective about that as much as I can. James Vick, who does train with Team Lloyd Irvin. Feel free to Google it. So James Vick, his jab is amazing.
There's a lot of rape accusations.
Yeah, against the instructor and throughout the team. And it's just it's a lot of weird shit besides that. It's not just that, even though that's more than enough. It's a lot of shit about how he's abusive towards his students and he demands these weird things, and people who have been a part of the team before have come out and spoken out against him, not in favor of him. It's a weird system they have going on that I don't subscribe to at all. So I'm gonna do my best to be objective about James Vick's fighting skills, because he's a fucking awesome fighter, top 15 in the UFC, and he deserves a really big fight right now. He looked awesome. His striking is on point, his wrestling is on point, everything is clicking for James Vick. The only thing, he does take more punches than I would like to see from a fighter.
Especially for being 6'3".
He doesn't fight tall, right? He does lean in and he gets in with people a little bit too much. You're 6'3". Keep people the fuck away from you. They should not enter your zone. Get your teep kick working. Get your jab a little harder. Keep people on the outside, and you'll win every fight, because nobody can fight outside with a 6'3" fighter.
Just for perspective, Marcus, you know what the average height, what the average range for a 155-pound fighter is?
No.
5'5" to 5'8".
Really?
Yes.
And he's 6'3".
And he's 6'3".
So
and
he's
he has
way bigger
he
than
has
everybody.
a reach for it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
His height is a huge advantage. The number one advantage you can have in MMA is height, I believe. The number one physical advantage you can have is
John
height.
Jones, what is he, 72 reach?
Yeah, he has the reach of like Kevin Durant or something.
Okay,
it's
and
unbelievable.
Vick is 76
Yeah, he's right there.
at 155.
But John Jones also fights super tall. John Jones fights like he is 7 feet tall. James Vick fights like he is 5'9". He fights like he's an inch taller than these guys, where he could really, I think, pump that up a lot more. And Trinaldo did look a little older.
Well, he is older.
He is older. He's 108 years old. The day before, he was wished a happy birthday, happy 100th birthday by the weather guy. What's his name? What's the name of that guy? Al Roker. Who shit his pants at the White House?
Yeah.
I hate that that's what I know him as. He's had such a long career, and that's what I know him as.
That's what I remember.
I know, it's so
remember him
sad.
for.
You know the worst part about that? He wrote that in a book like 3 months before it like broke big.
Mhm.
But then only when he did a TV interview about it did people learn, which means no one read his book.
No one read his book.
Who gives a fuck what Al Roker's book is? Fuck your book.
Yeah, you're
You're Al Roker. I'm not reading your book. Reading the Al Roker book, if I met somebody who was doing that, I would be like, "Oh, you are under kidnap or something? Like you are being held hostage? Is this ISIS? Are you an ISIS victim?" Anyway, we were talking about fighting.
Mhm.
Which fight were we talking about?
Vick.
Yes. Oh, I was talking about Francisco Trinaldo's old ass. James Vick deserves to shoot way up and fight a very tough fighter. Let's
Yeah.
find him somebody in the top 8-ish, right?
Yes.
The one, to his discredit, the one time he took a big step up, Beneil Dariush put him out in the very first round, which is a problem.
Yes.
For sure, don't get knocked out. We also had main event status, Cowboy Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. Did you watch the fight?
Yes. There was way too much bromance between the two guys.
Yeah, right. So much respect and so many sloppy BJs all week about, oh, it's going to be a great fight. I just can't wait to get in there with him. I really respect him. I think we're going to be good friends after this. Don't do that. You're there for a fist fight.
Yeah.
You
know
might
what?
be getting paid for it and call it martial arts all you want. You're wrapping your hands in leather and punching each other.
Yeah.
Deal
Act
with
like
it.
it.
Act like it.
You can
Act
do
like
that.
you've been there before.
It's all good if you win. If you
Yes,
lose,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes. If you get knocked the fuck out in the first round, you look like a fucking idiot.
And don't kiss his grandma on the mouth. That was weird. Did you see that?
Kiss his
Yeah,
grandma,
go kiss Yoel Romero if you need to kiss somebody.
So the
Yoel
guy
Romero's
who
down to
lost
French.
goes to the guy who won's grandma, and then she grabs him by the face. She starts telling him something. I don't know what she's telling him. Like, "Oh my God, I love you," or like, "Thank you for getting knocked out by my grandson."
Yeah, right.
So he just gives her like a
His ass isn't
big
gonna
wet
get
kiss
cut.
in the mouth. Just it was weird.
Yeah.
It was like, that's not your grandmother. That's some other dude's grandmother.
No, but that was who he was fucking that night.
Yeah, he did. He fucked that dude's grandma.
Hey, man, I might have lost the fight, but you can't unfuck your grandma. I'll get cleared by a commission real soon. She's still got fucked. Real good. That's such a good move, right? If you lose a fight, just fuck somebody that they care about a lot. That's the move. That's what you need to do. How do you feel about a Cowboy Cerrone versus James Vick fight?
I'd
I
watch
can see that, right? Yeah, I could see them putting that together. I think that's a good move for both guys.
Cerrone looked like an absolute star in Texas. People had to remind him that he wasn't from Texas because he's the Cowboy. He's from Denver, but still, like, he's in Texas. He's one of them. He came out there to that
White,
awesome-
yeah, I agree. He's white. They're white. Yeah, I agree.
He came out the Kid Rock Cowboy, went in there, had a great war, and then just knocked the guy out.
And then his grandmother got so fucking skull fucked that night.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even fucking believe it. You didn't think a skull could get that fucked, but here we are. I thought it was a good performance from Cowboy. It was a performance full of swagger, and he has been missing that in a big bad way. His last couple fights, he finally won a fight after a 3-fight losing streak. I still think he's going to have a hard time creeping back up to relevancy. If he's very serious about a title, he should drop back down to 55 because it's just not going to happen at 170.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the size. But at 155, I still think there's, roadblocks. Let me name you off the top 3 at 155. Conor McGregor, Tony Ferguson, Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? In some combination, that's your 1, 2, and 3 in the world at 155
Yeah.
pounds. He has to beat probably 2 of them, maybe 3 of them.
Speaking of Conor, do you think he's bullshit when he said that he was supposed to be at the next UFC to fight against Frankie Edgar?
Or that he said he would step up and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he's bullshitting. No, there's no way in hell he would ever, yeah. Or I think he may have even offered it knowing they'd never do it. You know what I mean? Because they're
Yeah.
not going to risk him like that. It was an empty promise. Oh, you know what, babe? I'll drive you over to your friend's house if you need somebody to drive, knowing she's going to say no. You know what I mean? Do you need anything from the store while I'm out? Knowing that she just went shopping.
We have some great UFC action. You know what? This is the first time a countdown show got me excited.
Real quick, even before then, we need to talk about the uprising that is Bellator,
Yes.
which is getting better and better. I thought Friday was one of their better cards they've ever put out. I really had a really fun time watching it. It feels so much more major with guys like Big John McCarthy on the call, Mike Goldberg.
Yes, it sounds so much more
It sounds
professional.
so much more professional. It feels so good right now.
You got
to
that
watch
guy Tylan Claxton.
Taiwan Claxton.
Yes.
I love Taiwan Claxton.
He's amazing.
Been following him since he was a college wrestler. Fucking love Taiwan Claxton. He is a beast, and you're going to have a lot of fun watching him. He was fun to watch wrestle, too. That's just who he is. And then the main event, Matt Mitrione versus Roy Nelson, quarterfinal of the Heavyweight Grand Prix, goes to a controversial-ish decision to Matt Mitrione. A lot of people thought that third round could have been a stoppage win for Roy Nelson, and if not a stoppage, a 10-8 round, which would have led to an overtime round. We could have seen a fourth round on Friday night when they had this
Who
card.
did you score for?
Matt Mitrione definitely won the first 2 rounds. Nobody in the world is going to argue that, right? And did a ton of damage. And then the third round, Roy Nelson does hold him down basically the whole round, does get to a crucifix, pounds him for a long time. Didn't get the stoppage, but I was hoping Matt Mitrione would win, and I was so nervous in that third round. I was like almost like clicking away, you know what I mean, and then clicking back. And to me, that's a 10-8 round. I thought it should have gone to a fourth round. I think Matt would have won a fourth round, but I mean, shit happens. I think it should have gone to a fourth round.
I like this Legends tournament.
It's cool, right? It's cool
Yeah.
to see all these old dudes fight. Like, hell yeah, get Fedor in there with, like, Ken Shamrock. I don't give a fuck. Let's make it happen.
Chemo
Fuck yeah.
versus Vanderlei Silva.
We need to let Vitor Belfort in. Let him just roid to the fucking gills. Let's put in, like, Uriah Faber on the underside. Let's make it happen.
And we have some UFC action this weekend we got to talk about. Like I said, I was sleeping on this. Is this on Fox or FS1?
I think this is FS1. No, this is Fox. This is Big Fox.
Yeah, this is big. Oh, that's why they have such a great countdown show. I've been shitting on the UFC countdown shows for a long time, but when you got me hyped to watch Stevens versus Emmett, you've done a damn.
They're
good
doing
job.
a good job,
Yeah,
right?
you're doing a
this
great
is
job.
not a great fight. This is not a great fight, I believe, if I can be honest.
You don't think Emmett's a great prospect and the next up-and-coming potential champion of the division?
Fuck no. I think there's a guy who has, he's got a fine record, but it's not. I haven't had my hair blown back by any performance he's had except for his last one. He's 3-1 in the UFC. He lost a split decision to Desmond Green, who is talented but still, middle of the pack. And then his last fight, he lands, a huge hook on Ricardo Lamas, and suddenly I'm supposed to believe he's the next coming of Chuck Liddell. I'm not buying it. He fights so close, you know what I mean? He fights within an inch of everybody all the time, and then he happened to land a knockout punch. I'm not sold on him as a prospect.
He's built like a Ninja Turtle. Like the dude is like very compact. He looks strong. His highlight reels look great. No personality at all. He's like the ultimate butterface. Like they always like kind of pan into like on the countdown show, and you're like, yo, this dude must look intimidating. He has like this dork face, like this dorky ass. Like
he looks milky. I don't know if that makes sense, but he looks full of milk. If you're imagine a person. Make him really fit and then fill him with milk. The person you're imagining is probably Josh Emmett.
And he's going against Little Heathens, Jeremy Stevens, who's one of my favorite fighters for years. And it's weird because it's like he's not that old. We've just been seeing him for years.
He just debuted when he was like 19.
Yeah.
He's like a low-key Hall of Famer when you look up and down his resume. The things he's done, the people he's beaten, he has been around forever, and all he does is put on exciting fights and win most of the time.
Yeah,
super into Jeremy
he always
Stevens.
can bank on like an extra $50,000 for like fight of the night, knockout of the night, performance of the night.
Yeah, because if you're gonna beat Jeremy Stevens, it is time to hustle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You are gonna have to work your balls off.
He can knock you out with either hand. He can knock you out with either foot.
Knees. He's finished
yes.
fights with knees. Anything. It's unbelievable. His power just transfers to everything. I don't see how Josh Emmett wins this fight. Maybe he has this next gear in wrestling to take down Jeremy Stevens all night, or maybe he just has this iron jaw that I've never seen, and he's going to be able to walk through everything. Terrible game plan against Jeremy Stevens, you know what I mean? Ask Duho Choi how well that worked out, you know what I mean?
Do you think Jeremy Stevens will ever make it to world championship level? Because I feel like he's right there always.
I want him to. I think if he wins this fight, I think he should be in a title eliminator. Because right now he's ranked 4th in the world, and, he can't go with the guys who are at the top. He can't. I know he fought Frankie Edgar before, but that's a rematch worth seeing. That wasn't a blowout fight by any means.
Yeah.
And when it's for a number one contendership or a belt, shit changes. I'd love to see Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens. That'd be a good fight, especially because Jeremy beat Henan. Burrell.
Oh, yeah.
So we even have a little heat we can throw on this.
They're in the same training camp. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Burrell's dad the one who originally trained Aldo?
Oh, I've never heard that, but maybe. There's a
think
lot of weird shit like that. I have Jeremy Stevens by knockout within 10 minutes. Do you concur?
Within 10 minutes, Jesus Christ. So the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, within the first 2 rounds.
Wow.
That's not mean. I mean, it's just how I see it.
Okay, maybe
That's also what I called, I think, in the Choi fight.
Maybe I'm overhyping what I've seen from Emmett because this countdown show made me believe that he's like on low key the greatest fighter alive.
Listen, we'll talk about it in a minute, but I feel like your blood flow might have been elsewhere in this moment when you were watching this countdown show. And you maybe weren't making the best decisions, but having watched tape on these guys, all week trying to make sure I had my knowledge up, I don't see how Josh Emmett wins this fight. Prove me wrong, but I think this is a great matchup for Jeremy Stevens.
Okay. The co-main event is an exciting fight between Tecia Torres, your former #WCW.
Jesse is currently unbuttoning his shirt while he describes this fight. Love Tecia Torres.
And Jessica Andrade.
Still love Tecia Torres.
And
I love Jessica Andrade. Hey, by the way, Jessica Andrade is not an ugly person.
No, she's not.
Jessica Andrade is a little... If you like muscled up girls, she's a cutie pie.
Yeah.
DJ Marcus, can I get a ruling on this for Jessica Andrade?
Jessica Andrade, let's see.
Please.
She's got a little bit of a booty going on, too.
And her fight against Claudia Gadelha is the most exciting ass whooping I've ever seen in my life. I think it was like 30-25 on one of the scorecards, but it's a legitimately good fight. And Gadelha is in it the whole time while she's getting her ass whooped. She never quits and never backs down. I was very impressed with both women in that fight.
One of the interesting things about this countdown show is they highlight the relationship between Tecia Torres and her sparring partner / coach / fiance Raquel Pennington, who's also a fighter in the UFC.
We will get to that. I think that's her.
Oh.
But listen to this story because this is nuts.
Like
so,
she fights anybody.
For a long time, I've been telling Joe that I believe that Tecia Torres was trying to bang Sage Northcutt. They had all these videos together flirting, and then it comes out that she is dating Raquel Pennington.
So I'm like, oh, clearly, she's a lesbian. She probably wasn't trying to bang Sage Northcutt.
Okay.
So what I mean, I feel like that's a pretty solid.
So this countdown show, she actually talks about it. She said that she had never been attracted to women before she started training with Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington slid into the DMs.
Who is a top 10 fighter in the UFC as well.
Okay.
And next thing you know, she starts having all these funny feelings in her body, and she can't explain it. She's like, wait, but I'm not gay. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Then Raquel put those lips on her, started kissing her, and she was like, oh, fuck dudes.
Fuck dudes, I'm going to fuck women.
And now she's engaged to a woman.
And now she's going to get married to Raquel Pennington. And by the way, that is a strong move from Raquel Pennington.
Yes.
To scoop up this straight woman to be your lawfully wedded girl-on-girl wife.
Yes.
I mean, that is a strong move.
Although I will say, ever since
Nothing
she made
but
the
respect.
switch, she's not as hot.
Tecia Torres?
Yeah.
You think? I don't know.
Go back
wait,
and look
this
at
is a girl that you're going to find out is into other women as well and has banged men, and that makes her less appealing somehow?
No.
This is a first in the history of men. No girl has ever been a lesbian and gotten uglier. What is
No,
this?
I mean, if you look at the photos of her before she got with Raquel, she had like a sexier, more like to appeal to a male kind of look.
Oh, I see.
Like if you look at all the older photos, now, I mean... And
by the way,
she
this
looks
is
softer.
This is not a beauty contest that they're having this
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah.
so this is all very out there conversation.
Now I see less makeup, I see less eyelashes, I see more like...
She's also getting married. She doesn't have to draw in anything. You know what I mean? She's got somebody
Yeah.
on lock.
Still think she de-virginized Sage Northcutt.
Ooh, strong conversation.
She was really throwing it on him at the time.
Listen, there was some suspicious posting going on. There's some DM sliding at the time, I'll agree. That will make a fantastic movie when we get off our ass and ready.
Yeah, like Sage Northcutt's all depressed because he's like, man, my dick game must be whack. She went to women afterwards.
Yeah, like you fucked one woman one time, and then like 3 weeks later she was dyking. You would quit. You'd quit. But as we all know, the rule for it is, unless they use the strap-ons, then they not dykes.
I can imagine Sage
Kanye
Northcutt
West.
look in the mirror afterwards after finding out on Instagram that she's dating another woman. She's like, maybe I am gay. Maybe all the criticism's true. Maybe the rumors are real.
That's got to be awful if enough people say it about you where you have to like sit down like, okay, is there a chance I am gay? Because a lot of bullies have been saying that lately. And maybe I need to look at me. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong. I feel like this when we talked about how fat shaming could be good. Do you remember this? And we were like, listen, it's not a good thing to do that to somebody, but it can work really, really well if you need someone to lose weight, is to shame them excessively.
Chris Rock has that new bit about bullying. Have you seen his pro bully bit?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's really good.
I'll check it out.
Basically, one of the things he says is like, that's the reason we have so many fat kids today. He's like, because we have no bullies taking their lunch money. You know what you get by with all that food? Seconds.
That's funny as fuck. Let's talk about Tecia Torres versus Jessica Andrade, the fight. I was almost like, let's talk about another fight, but we didn't actually touch on the fight.
Jessica Andrade. This is very interesting about the fact that Raquel Pennington is training Tecia Torres for this fight. One of the people who's actually defeated Jessica Andrade is Raquel Pennington.
Choked her out in the second round, rear
Yes.
naked choke. Oh my, do I remember? Or it was like a weird like sideways bulldog choke or something, I think. It was really weird.
Now, women try to like present themselves like they don't talk as much trash as men do, but I wonder the shit talk that's going on between those two camps currently.
I mean, I think as much as the men, I think these two have been really upfront about it. I think there's a little bit of a language barrier, but Jessica Andrade is a bad motherfucker in the ring, in the cage. She never stops walking forward. She never stops throwing punches. She never stops trying to actively slam people. She doesn't get takedowns. She gets high amplitude slams. And that's going to be her game plan from now till forever. It's just be a Tasmanian devil of violence all over the ring and let people catch up. Something I think is going to be really interesting for Tecia Torres is two things. First of all, her jab, which she doesn't use as often as I would love to see. Second is her leg kick game, because Jessica Andrade brings a very heavy leg kick, but she doesn't throw it very often. I think Tecia should be very insistent on leg kicking early, leg kicking often.
And this is a title eliminator, and it's very important to point out that Tecia Torres actually beaten the current women's champion, Rose Namajunas.
I swear I thought you were going to go back to Michelle Watterson, the Karate Hottie. Rest in peace, the Karate Hottie. She's just going on this like tour of all the hot women in the division, like Karate Hottie, Paige Van Zandt, and she's taking them all out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She beat Paige twice, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so this is going to be speed versus power. Tecia Torres has speed. Tecia Torres has the footwork. But I feel like Jessica Andrade has the durability, and she has the power to change the fight with one punch or slam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who do you think is going to win? I'm going to go with Andrade.
Tecia Torres, but I'm going to go Andrade. Yeah.
I mean, I've said it before, love Tecia Torres, love her. But Jessica Andrade is a monster piece. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'd love to see her against Rose. I think that's a great fight. Both of them against Rose.
The rematch.
We only have one MMA fight left on the week I think that really deserves talking about. Ovince St. Preux versus Ilir Latifi. These are both top 10 205-pounders, which in the UFC means you're one of the 10 205-pounders that they have under contract. And OSP has a tricky ground game, pretty good striking, but he mostly relies on his athleticism. Latifi, kind of the same, but just with his wrestling. He's an athletic wrestler type, and he's built like a fire hydrant. How do you see these two smashing into each other?
I think this is a perfect fight for OSP. I don't believe much on Latifi. He's good, but like at a B minus C plus level.
He keeps the gates for the gatekeepers, right? You know what I mean? Like if you want to crack the top 15, you got to beat a guy like Latifi.
Yeah, but I feel like OSP is a solid like B fighter.
Yes, I agree 100%. He is just on the outside looking in of so many of these guys. It's like him and Jimmy Manuwa are right there. You know what I mean? Like they're good, and they're going to beat a lot of people, but they're never going to beat the top level guys. And so I think that too. I think OSP is going to pick up a decision.
Although he did well against John Jones.
He did pretty well. John Jones, that was not a good John Jones.
Yeah, that was non-steroided John Jones.
That was non-steroided up John Jones. That was non-PED John Jones. That was non-coked up John Jones. And that is just not the John Jones that I recognize. # not my John Jones.
We have some boxing as well. We have SuperFly 2, which is the HBO card that highlights the super flyweight division. It's been very successful. At first, people said, hey, no one will ever watch that weight class. Chocolatito Gonzalez became one of the top pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. And then when he got knocked out, everybody was like,
oh, never mind. Turns out this division fucking rules. And they were fucking right.
Because what they did is once he was being highlighted, they kept highlighting all his potential rivals, and they got fans. So now one of the biggest, person who became a huge star of this was the guy who beat him, Srisaket Sor Rungvisai.
Beat him twice, including once by violent knockout.
And he will be taking on his arch rival, Chocolatito's arch rival, Gallo Estrada, which is going to be, I think it's going to be a great fight, but how do you see this fight going?
I really love the marching straightforward style of Sor Rungvisai. I think he brings a lot more power than most people in this division. He also brings super durability. Do you remember that first war he had with Chocolatito?
Yes.
Ooh, love that fight. Gallo Estrada, probably a little bit trickier, but also super insistent, going to try to march.
And he had a war against Cuadras.
Yeah, just to get here, he had a war against Cuadras.
Matter of fact, they both had wars with Cuadras.
Accurate.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean anything because so did Chocolatito, and he couldn't take Sor Rungvisai's power. So not all jaws are built the same.
Yeah, right. It really, not even just with styles, but even just with power sometimes, the matchups can be weird. It's a really fascinating thing. The human jaw, right?
Yeah.
So how do I see this fight going, or just what do I think is going to happen?
How do you
What are
think?
asking me?
How do you think it's gonna go?
How do I think it's going to go? I think it's going to be a lot of Sor Rungvisai taking the center. I think it's going to be a lot of El Gallo trying to probably counter a little bit more, if I had to guess. And that's what I think. First blush, that's what I think is going to happen. Then I think they're going to try to adjust off of that.
I think this is gonna go one of two ways. It's either gonna be technical mastery by Gallo Estrada, and I think he's probably just gonna, box him instead of actually have a war with him, which I've seen him do in the past.
Yeah.
He can box his ass off. To me, he's like a mini Eric Morales. Like, he can box Pacquiao's brains off, or he can
Which,
go to
by the way, Morales is not that big. To be a mini Morales is to be quite small.
yeah. Or he'll go to war, but he's a proud Mexican who will go to war.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll get himself knocked
Ask Carlos Cuadras
yeah.
if he'll go to war. Yeah. If
And
he tries to have the same fight he had against Cuadras, he'll get knocked out.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
Sor Rungvisai has way bigger power than Cuadras.
And the other way it could happen is, like I said, if he goes to war, he's going to get knocked out.
It's going to be a big
But I
problem.
think it'll be a blaze of glory.
It'll be really fun
It'll
to
be
watch.
a fight of the year candidate type knockout.
It'll be really fun to watch. Do you think he's going to get pulled into that trap, or do you think he's going to show the will and the focus to stay out of that?
One of the big things that's been motivating.
I love how manipulative my question was, but do you think he'll show the balls to not get into a hard fight? Do you think he is a man enough?
One of the big stories of El Gallo in the past 2 years has been to do performances and basically compete with as many accomplishments as possible to get him in contention to fight a rematch against Chocolatito Gonzalez. But now that this other guy's there, I don't feel like he has that much to prove. So I think it wouldn't be above him to just take the technical victory as opposed to going to war. He's already there. He's already accomplished what he needs to do to get this title shot. So I actually predict that he's going to box him.
You think he's going to box him and he's going to dance all night?
Yeah.
I am not mad at that. Let the feet loose.
This other, the co-main event, I think
Srisaket Sor Rungvisai is going to win the fight, though.
You got Sor Rungvisai?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with Estrada. I'm going to go
There
with
you
Estrada on this one.
All right.
I'm picking upset. It's going to piss HBO off because they're trying to establish, like, a king of the division.
No, fuck that. Let it be the cruiserweight title in WCW. Let it just churn.
Carlos Cuadras versus Mick Williams Arroyo. How do you think this fight's going to go? Let's introduce both fighters. All right, El Príncipe, Carlos Cuadras. We saw him when he came in there and he defended his title against Chocolatito Gonzalez. Phenomenal fight. He was the closest at that time to beating Gonzalez, who's considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Mick Williams Arroyo was a big prospect out of Puerto Rico. People thought him and his brother were going to dominate and be like these big stars. Great amateur fighters, but haven't necessarily cracked the big victory. This fight here wouldn't give him the big victory, but will put him in position to fight.
You don't think this is a big victory?
Against Cuadras?
I think Cuadras is a huge victory. Personally, I think that would be a big victory.
True, but it's not the title.
It's not the title, but it's a big victory.
Yeah.
That's a name on your resume.
So
that's not going away.
For Mick Williams, he needs to win this fight to not be labeled as a gatekeeper.
The only problem is he is kind of a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Small issue. That is what you are. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel. I just think Carlos Cuadras is better than Mick Williams Arroyo. I think his movement is a little bit better. I think his hands are a little bit faster. I think he's going to hit with a little bit more force. I just think he's a better boxer than Mick Williams.
And Cuadras wants the title back, basically. Okay, so background. He's actually beaten Srisaket Sor Rungvisai. He's the only man to have beaten Srisaket Sor Rungvisai. It was a close battle. It was a close war. And then he lost a close battle, close war to Gallo Estrada. So he's had close fights with both people in the main event. So he has
You
a
can
claim.
build it either way. If he wins this fight, you can build him against Srisaket. So obviously, you
Yeah.
beat the world champion. And then you can build him against Estrada. I would watch a rematch of that any day of the week.
Either one of those two fights is like,
Yeah, fuck yeah.
any answer you tell me, whoever won did win.
Yeah, and if exactly. And if McWilliam wins, you don't quite have that.
Yeah,
know what
you
I
don't
mean?
have
It
that.
falls apart. So I really think Cuadras is he's the linchpin here.
And, of course, that's only if they don't get Inoue in there because, they've been building towards Inoue to fight the winner, so it can go either way. But I feel like another person they're building for the division is the flyweight champion who will be defending the title also on the same card, Donny Nietes, who has been one of the most dominant fighters for the past 11 years. He has He's a 4-division world champion from the Philippines. The only problem is he hasn't been able to have crossover appeal like some of the other fighters because he started at the minimum weight division, which is the smallest weight that you could possibly be as a professional
I believe that
fighter.
is labeled as birth weight. Yes.
And he's moved up to flyweight. So what HBO would like him to do...
He had to really bulk to get up to... He had to get past atom weight. He had to move past straw weight. Now he's finally up to flyweight. Really pumping steel.
And HBO would like them to go for a 5th weight class to fight against, one of these super flyweights they've been pumping up.
I think
Is 5 weight classes too much?
Yes, obviously.
For the dominant champion.
4 weight classes is still too much. Yes, it's obviously too much.
At age 35?
Yes, 100%. Nobody goes through puberty twice. You know what I mean? You are the size you are at that age. And he is just, he has a bad draw in that he is going to be small. But if he wants the money, gain a little weight there, Fat.
And he's highly respected by everyone. So he's trained with Manny Pacquiao. His trainer is Freddie Roach. He's trained at the Mayweather fight camp. His promoter is Floyd Mayweather. Like, the guy has everything going for him. But at 35, it's a tough task to ask.
Especially at the lighter weight classes.
Yeah.
I mean, 35 at heavyweight and 35 at flyweight are two completely different animals. So to put on size, try to deal with new power, and keep your speed at 35 after the kind of career he's had. Do you think training with Manny was easy? Do you think he didn't pick up any mileage from training with Manny Pacquiao? Come on. This is a guy with, not a lot of tread left on the tire. Bumping up a weight class right now? Impossible.
But here's the thing, though. You only have a certain amount of time to make big money, and HBO's interested in not just highlighting you internationally.
Oh, I'm saying for the money, he should do it. But for the smart move for his health or for, his capability of victory, no.
Here's another option, because I feel like what HBO wants to do is build the story. And they've also put on the same card for the other. He's the IBF champion. The WBA title is being defended, the vacant WBA, with Brian Valoria, the Hawaiian Punch. So I think they're trying
One
to
of the best nicknames in the game.
Yeah. So he's from Hawaii. He's a flyweight. He's a career flyweight. And he has low-key been – he's basically like the Alistair Overeem of boxing. He always has like these losses to people he shouldn't have lost to, but he looks phenomenal. He's one of those any given Sunday guys.
When he's winning, you can't understand how he loses.
Exactly.
But then he also
Loses to people who should never lose to.
He loses to people that I look around and I have to start Googling who the fuck is this guy, and I look it up and it's just some fucking gatekeeper from New Zealand or something. You know what I mean? It's some nobody.
Yeah.
It's some complete nobody.
So this is his last shot. He could become a 5-time world champion. Not 5 division, 5 times, because he's lost the belt 5 different times.
Booker T style.
Yeah, he's one of those transitional champions where, he'll beat he beat Tyson Marquez in the prime of who Tyson Marquez was, and then immediately lost it. Well, he lost it to Gallo Estrada, so there's no shame in that in a split decision. But he can keep up in a split decision with a Gallo Estrada, who's a bigger fighter.
It is theoretically possible, yes. But if
But
that's
then
who we're
he'll
going to
lose-
see, we have no idea.
But then he'll lose to like Edgar Sosa or some random Colombian guy who never did anything with his career.
So, as you can understand listening to the podcast right now, that makes predicting fights for him unfucking believably hard.
Never
'Cause-
put money on him.
Never once. Never once.
Yeah.
Maybe if he's a big enough underdog, right? If the money line gets low enough, because he can beat anyone in the world.
So if I could predict what they're going to do, he's going to win this 5th world title against some dude I never heard of, and then he's going to fight Donny Nietes, and then they're going to try to get the winner of that to bump up. And
Not to interrupt you, I think that the Fan Man is going to fly down again. I think we're going to get another Fan Man fight. I can't wait. I'm really excited for this.
Mark, has any of these fights excite you?
Not particularly.
Yeah, right. It's not a lot of sizzle for. There's not a lot of crossover appeal for people who aren't deep dish. You know what I mean?
This is definitely like the nerd card. This is the nerd card on both ends.
Yeah. It's like when comic book nerds are like, I'm going to Boston Comic Con this week, and you're like, that's not even one of the big ones. That's not even. It's like San Diego and New York, and that's a weird one. They're like, yeah, I'm going to Charlotte for this con. It's gonna be on. I'm gonna meet Sailor Moon. Just say something weird.
Whenever HBO has these SuperFly cards, you can guarantee there'll be great fights, but you'll also guarantee that you won't be able to pronounce the fighters' names or the countries they're from.
No, yeah, everybody.
Yeah,
that,
that's
before we start getting to racist towards Eastern Europeans, do we have any other fights to break down this week, Jesse?
No more fights.
I think we're pretty good on fights. Do you have any other fight talk for the week? Because I know we do have the .comedy studios are booked after us, so I would like to not step on people's time too much. Jesse Rivas, put yourself over for the week.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, J Rivas Comedy, and JAY Rivas on Facebook.
Wonderful. My name is Joe Gilpin. Everybody, thank you so much for subscribing to the show. The more you tell people about it, the more cool things we get to do. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. We'll be back next week with all the fight news here on The Block.